Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get in the Garage.
We're a music podcast.
For music lovers.
As always, we've got a great show planned for you today, but before we begin, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and share the podcast with all your friends and family and everybody you know.
Tell somebody at the grocery store about our podcast.
Tell someone at the grocery store, whether they're checking you out or helping you find an item.
The way you said checking out sounded...
Everyone's always checking me out at the grocery store.
I was going to say, it sounded suggestive.
I was waiting for it. So we got a fun show planned. Luke, why don't you give the good people a nice little outline of the show?
We have music news like we have every week for you. Stay informed. We have the brand new music review from SZA. We kind of missed it from a couple weeks ago, but we are bringing it to you here today. The album is SOS. And then in our last segment, we are going to take a weird left turn and talk about some of the weirdest left turns in musical history. We're talking people that did complete faces into different musical genres, changed up what they were doing completely. We're going to talk about it. Left turns, crazy musical things.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's it. So let's get the Alex, cue the music.
Roll our theme song.
Roll the music.
That was
Who the fuck just started this theme song?
Every time I hear that, I just think of the No Reservations, Anthony Bourdain. It's no reservation.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
It's not as cool. It may be a better theme song, but it's not as cool. The No Reservations theme song is quite weird.
Yeah, it's good. No reservations. Anyway, this isn't a cooking show. This is a show about music. So let's talk about what's happening in music today. Who wants to go first? Who's got the music news?
I will.
Okay.
I didn't want to.
Yesterday, I believe, Limp Bizkit frontman Fred Durst has lent his support to Elon Musk with all of his troubles at Twitter. So, Elon, if you're watching or listening, get in touch with Jacksonville's finest, Fred Durst. He can help you solve all your problems.
Is he up for the CEO bid?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't know.
Fred,
Well,
you
can pay Fred and Nookie.
I feel like
he does it all for it. So
I feel like Fred's really bringing the people together since like the Limp Bizkit renaissance we had 2 years ago, and I'm ready for it. Let's make him the head of Twitter. It's already a cesspool anyway.
It's already
the Florida of the internet.
There you go.
There you have it. I have some interesting music news that I caught.
Let's hear it.
Recently that I thought was kind of interesting. So Madison Square Garden, did you see this, is using facial recognition technology to kick out legal adversaries, which is pretty far out. So I guess
legal adversaries?
Yeah, so I guess the whole thing is like they had used this recognition software to find lawyers who were actively involved in cases against Madison Square Garden. So as a way to combat maybe what you would consider a conflict of interest or something, legal spying or something, they're basically using the facial recognition technology, and they kicked out, I read the article, I think it was like 6 attorneys who were there to see something, but were they there to see something? So like they think it's kind of like foul play, like that they're actually going there to try to like get dirt or something, because it is technically a public place that you can go to. But I also looked into it a bit further, and I guess Taylor Swift had used facial recognition technology on one of her tours to help prevent stalkers from coming to her shows.
That's
so
pretty
this
cool.
is not necessarily a new concept. Also, it's not a new concept because if you've ever been to a casino, casinos have been using facial recognition technology for the past, I don't even know how many years, because, if you go, you gamble, you cheat, whatever, they are actively looking at every person that walks in. So not a new thing.
Have you been walked out of the casino?
I have not been walked out of the casino.
It was just a question.
Do I look like someone who's been walked out of the casino?
I know many people who have been walked out of the casino.
I behave myself at the casino. I don't go for gambling. I go for food.
Yeah.
Baked goods.
The milkshakes.
Interesting.
But I thought it was weird. It is interesting, but it's also kind of like,
I mean, if you've seen the documentary Minority Report, this has existed for many years. So
But isn't that like Tom Cruise movie?
I thought it was a documentary.
Oh, sorry.
Jeff is our resident Tom Cruise expert.
Yes, he is. He does all this real stunts.
Hey, well, Madison Square Garden, there's a lot of people who hate the dude who owns that place, James Dolan.
Yeah.
Who is a blues musician. Look up his shit. It's awful. It's called like JD and the Blues Bullet Band or some. And he like opens up for the Eagles.
Really?
Because he's a billionaire.
He pays them.
Pays to play. Yeah. And so imagine going to see the Eagles and then he does an hour opening set. Like just a fucking chubby billionaire white guy playing blues harmonica.
Well, he knows all about the blues, man.
He's no James Cotton.
So anyway, there you go. You have that. I don't know. Do with it what you will, but
very interesting. And
make sure you're on good terms with Madison Square Garden if you go see a show.
So
what? No.
I am 2 thumbs down on that idea. I have a fun one for you. H&M, the fashion retailer, has pulled Justin Bieber's merchandise from their stores after he called the merchandise trash. So what happened was H&M had a line with...
I mean, it is trash. All the shit costs like $9.
Okay, so like
it's made out of like plastic bags.
It's literally some of the worst clothes ever made. I own a lot of it because it's the only stuff that fits me. Like ever.
I shopped there for a brief period and then I stopped going because I had to buy XLs when I weighed 140 pounds.
They're the only.
They're made for European body types.
Me. So what happened was it was like the Kanye Gap deal where Justin Bieber had a deal with. H&M where they were going to design some clothes based on his songs and tour and image and all of those things, and the line came out and it was available for in stores, and Justin Bieber went to Twitter and told his followers not to buy the merchandise, that it was trash and not good, not of good quality. It was trash. Don't buy it, is what he said. H&M has released a statement. The following H&M has followed all proper approval and procedures, but out of respect for the collaboration with Justin Bieber, we have removed the garments from stores, a spokeswoman said. So that is what happened. I don't know what the real beef is. I don't know if he doesn't like the designs or if what we are all really just saying that H&M's clothing is kind of trashy and not of high quality, which I think everybody knew, maybe except Justin Bieber. So
also trashy and not of high quality, Justin Bieber.
But
sometimes they say life imitates art.
That's right.
So that is what's happening with H&M and Justin Bieber. So, I just thought it was interesting. Musicians in the fashion world, they can't really seem to get a hold on it as well as 50 Cent in his G-Unit line once did.
Oh, but that was because that was his own. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I get you.
He didn't go, because I don't think G-Unit went through.
No, that was like sold in like JCPenney and like Kohl's and things like that.
Yeah, licensed by a different company that made it all.
Yeah.
Well,
In festival news, recently announced, although I read this and it said recently announced, it's a festival that's going to be this January. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just catching it late, but it was in the news this week. Chicago artist Chance the Rapper and Vic Mensa are co-hosting a festival in Ghana in Africa called the Black Star Line Festival, which is named after the fleet of ships that transported enslaved people from Africa to the United States and South America. And so I assume that they're appearing and performing. I don't know who else is on the lineup, but kind of a cool thing for some American artists to be going across seas to Africa, especially to put on a festival for people that I assume is going to be like hopefully at almost no cost for the people there, and maybe do a whole bunch of good for the communities over there.
Yeah, who was it that you said were doing?
Chance the Rapper and Vic Mensa are the co-hosts, and you can read more about the lineup. It's Black Star Line Festival.
Black Star Line Festival.
Very cool.
Right on. I have some more news.
Go for it.
So, I hate to tell you guys, but Almost Famous the musical.
Oh, I just saw a clip.
Is no longer going to be on Broadway.
Oh. It's not doing well.
No, it's not doing well at all. After a quote, what was the quote fairly average gross of $700,000 $65,060.
That's not a lot.
It is performed to theaters at 74% capacity. But it also goes on to say that K-pop, a musical based on the K-pop industry, closed just after 2 weeks. And another musical, Ain't No Mo, received a closing notice after 1 week, but rallied to briefly extend its run. So it's literally, that's what it's called.
I
Don't make
know
fun of
No,
me
I
for
know.
saying
I know it is. I was just laughing at the way you said it.
Ain't no mo.
Yeah, the biggest crapshoot in entertainment is musicals.
Is it?
They
Yeah.
cost so much seed money to get off the ground and like to get to performances.
Yeah.
And then if you get bad reviews the first week, it's like that shit's gonna last for 1 month.
Yeah, it's that bad, huh?
Because you gotta think like how big the staff is of actors, of behind the scenes people, of costumers, of makeup, of stage people, of lighting techs, of
Right,
construction people, and then like the New York Times is like, don't go see this piece of shit, and then it's
And it all just
nobody
falls apart.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, though, like, are there really any, have there been any really like successful modern current musicals that have come out that have actually been doing well? Like
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong.
But that's the thing. It's like
Alex is like the biggest musical album
most
of the past 20
most
years.
musicals
Yeah, but I'm
come out
saying,
and they
like-
last for like the 1 or 2 years,
Yeah.
and then something else comes in.
Yeah.
You have the big tent poles of Phantom of the Opera is closing soon. Wicked's still on Broadway. Trying to think of long producers. I believe is still on Broadway.
Yeah.
I think Avenue Q, but I don't know. I don't really know that world that much anymore. But
Yeah.
these things seem to have their like 1, 2, 3 year type max kind of thing, unless they are those gigantic like phenomenons.
Right. But I mean, in general, like even Broadway in general, is this like a dying
No, Hamilton,
thing
man.
in the current? Yeah, but
Well-
yes, Hamilton. But I'm talking like, if we're talking meta, if we're talking big picture, like, are people really going to see things on Broadway that say like aren't tourists? Because you get the people who go like, we're going to go see a Broadway musical in the big city. You get that whole thing. But,
They are, but things still just haven't picked up since COVID.
Right. That's what I mean. Like
They just because people are still don't want to be packed in a theater.
People would go see because there's so many classic shows that they would just put back into rotation. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what it is. People will always still go.
All those theater experiences, they're very hit or miss still right now.
Yeah.
Like I just went to the movies and there were like 60 people there.
Yeah.
And so, like musicals, unless you are the huge ones, you got to hope to have an audience.
Would you go see Almost Famous the musical though? No.
I mean, if
it
I
was
was there,
free?
like if someone was like,
If it
hey,
was
man,
free,
yeah,
and it was down the street.
That's the face you made. You're like, if
Yeah.
it was free, if it was like $3 or down the street, yeah, maybe.
Well, because
Yeah.
tickets for that, I assume, like Broadway musicals, they start at like $75.
I would never go see Almost Famous the musical. Like I just would, you know what I mean? It's just not.
I saw a clip, and after seeing a clip, I wouldn't.
No.
I just did.
The idea doesn't sound good to me.
Babe. Like I'm just like I'm out.
Like, do you want to watch a musical about
A movie, a fake band,
Well, it's really about like
Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I would give it a shot,
Crow.
but it's
Yeah. But
I was trying to be
What
nice
was the one?
and say it was a
What
movie
a-
about
it
a
ain't
certain
no
type
mo.
of person.
ain't no mo.
It ain't no mo. That's
It
all.
ain't-
That's my review on Almost Famous the musical. It ain't no
It
mo.
ain't no mo.
Ooh.
It's true. It ain't no mo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hamilton tickets right now are starting at $124
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
piece.
still huge.
Yeah.
So
But
Yeah.
that is like the Phantom of the Opera, the Cats, the Wicked. You get like
Right.
one every 5 years. That becomes a huge like 15-year thing.
Yeah.
I got one more to wrap it out.
Okay.
If we're good.
Let's
Yeah.
hit it.
If you purchased, this is the third week in a row of Bob Dylan book news. So if you purchased Bob Dylan's new books and went straight to the thank yous, the acknowledgement section, he thanked the crew at Dunkin' Donuts. And in a recent interview, they asked him, why did you thank, of all people, the crew at Dunkin' Donuts? And if you did look at the acknowledgement, it was like this person, that person, this person, that person, and then the crew at Dunkin' Donuts for their gracious service or something like that. It was like the longest one. And,
Thanks for giving me the bathroom code, even though I look like a bum.
right, there you go. Bob Dylan said they were compassionate, supportive, and they went
compassionate.
the extra mile. That was his answer. That's
The extra
why
mile. What he
thanked
means
them.
is, thanks for putting 17 liquid sugars in
Yeah.
that coffee for me.
Are you thinking Bob Dylan drinks anything but a black coffee? He's gotta.
I bet.
I don't
Can you
know.
imagine if he's like really like
Give me a
gross?
7 and 7.
I bet you Bob
Can you mix
Dylan.
the hazelnut and the French vanilla and put 12 liquid sugars in that piece for me?
He's a black
You know?
coffee, an old fashioned donut,
Oh,
and like an apple, like one of those.
Apple at Dunkin' Donuts.
An
Wait,
apple,
what?
no, what are those things?
apple fritter.
An apple
I
fritter,
picture
maybe.
him as the donut sticks. Remember they used
Yeah.
to have those donut sticks?
Yeah, he probably do like a couple donut sticks.
Old fashioned donut sticks.
Yeah.
because they dip easier in the coffee.
What? Like what?
Are we imagining that Bob dips his coffee?
How
donuts?
how can a
Sure,
co-
why
how
not?
can a
That's like an
coffee
old school-
person provide or like demonstrate compassion?
What was? But
They're like,
you-
it's on the house, Bob. He's like, well, that's
of all,
nice.
but this
just
is
don't
this
get
is the
it.
funny thing. Bob Dylan is such an elusive creature, and he doesn't open up to like anybody in the music press. But the people that know him the best are the people
Dunkin'.
at Dunkin' Donuts. So what are you gonna do, man?
Yeah, right.
And if they're good Dunkin' Donuts employees, they see him every day and they still get his order wrong some days.
Just
I didn't order a wake up wrap.
just to stay chummy.
Why do I have a wake up wrap?
I get a hazelnut coffee every day. Why'd you give me a French vanilla today? Because I'm a Dunkin' Donuts employee. That's what we do.
Yeah, I wonder what his flavor. Do you
This
think he has
is
a flavor?
compassion.
This is compassion. Oh man, yeah. I put him for a hazelnut guy though. I can't imagine Bob being a French vanilla kind of guy.
Bob is a hazelnut.
He's
I'm going black coffee all day.
yeah.
Can't
yeah.
be.
All right. Well,
Perhaps an espresso if we have to.
moving on.
We are going to review.
Yes, we're going to
A
review.
new
Sorry,
album.
I was distracted because Alex was trying to tell me something back there. Yes, we're going to review a new album. It came out last week, December 9th. So that was last week, right? Yeah.
2 weeks
Ish.
ago.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2
3
weeks,
weeks ago.
Who knows? Who cares? It is the second studio album by SZA. It's called SOS. What do we think about it? It's 67 minutes long. So it's a big one.
Or an hour and 9 minutes and
Yeah.
23 tracks.
23 tracks, yeah. It's got 4 singles listed.
The first of which came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, December 25th, 2020, right? Yeah.
And then the second one came out over a year ago.
December 3rd, 2021, and then October 28th, 2022, and there's one that's dated for January of 2023 on here.
Soon to be released. So
Soon
this
to be
is
released.
this is her second studio album. It's the first release in 5 years. Her first album, Control, came out in 2017. Widely celebrated album 5 years ago, and people have been eagerly awaiting this new album. With the first single, Good Days, coming out 2 years ago, people thought this project would be completed sooner than now, but people are happy to have it now. It's getting kind of like worldwide acclaim, and it's one of those, like, I haven't been around for many years, so here's all the songs I have. So I kind of like forgive it for its length because I see the point of that. But what do you guys think?
I thought it was too long. if I'm coming out with things, but then again, when you put it like that, I mean that makes sense. You know, where it's just kind of that thing. I just felt that, like, I don't know. To me, there were moments where this musically sounded confused. But I suppose when you're releasing 23 tracks and it's kind of like, okay, here's everything. I kind of would have liked maybe 2 separate albums and have one that's a bit more of that harder hip hop leaning and one that's a bit more of that kind of, I don't know, it was not indie rock, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's kind of like 2 different sort of things going on this record, you know, because you have like guitar driven stuff on here, but then you have other stuff that sounds pretty, you know, up to par with kind of like, you know, like the Drake style of hip hop and R&B. Luke, who did you mention the other day? Frank Ocean, like
Sure.
Yeah, it's got like the R&B side of it. This is like one of those like R&B albums that's on the progressive scale of like R&B music where it's really not just one flavor of it. There's a lot of things mixed into it. It's really from like that Frank Ocean kind of moving up to here. This is more of a pop oriented version of that. I think that this album is really quite bloated. It's quite like a song dump album. For me, I liked the more pushy experimental R&B things and the things that leaned more like indie pop R&B, such as the single Kill Bill, in that nature. I like that kind of stuff. Things where I found that I didn't really like this album was, one, the length, and I didn't super care for all the themes, the like vocal lyrical themes. I thought like some of it was said maybe like a couple songs before in a different kind of way, and I kind of thought some of the themes were rehashed a little bit. One big example is I did love the song Kill Bill, but having a song Kill Bill, movie song, Quentin Tarantino, we all know that, and then to have like 9 songs later a song called Gone Girl, both are movies, female protagonist, which is the male is, for me, that's too on the nose of almost the same songwriting prompt to me, which isn't like a bad song in one, but when you put them that close together, I go movie. And for me, I just want a little bit more flavor. So that was like my big kind of criticism of it. The last like kind of thing is I really did like a lot of the flavors of the songs. The last thing I didn't care for was F2F, the rock pop song on this record. I thought that was like the worst version of a rock pop song, where the R&B on this record felt new and innovating and going different places I kind of had never heard. And then for me, I was like, oh, that's one of the most boring rock songs I've heard this year. Willow Smith's rock songs with R&B twists were much more interesting, much more flavorful. That's like, that kind of stuff would have fit better on this record than that song did. That sounds like a Kelly Clarkson song from 2003. I didn't really like it. Other thing I didn't like on this record was, why is Old Dirty Bastard on this record? It does not make any sense to me at all. I know she just sampled it and used it, and the estate said, yeah, you can use that, and that's okay, I guess, in some forms, but it feels to me like it just feels weird. I don't get it. For me, I'm like,
I just thought it was an add-on.
Yeah, but
who
like,
cares?
But for me,
because it is just like 20 seconds of a.
But it's such a big record, right? It's like her. This is like the. And then for me, that's the last song, and it feels just like I don't know. It just felt weird because it also didn't sound like anything else on the record. It was the only one with the big boom, bap, boom, bap beat on it, where everything else had like modern beats that were not boom bap at all. So going from there, that's what I didn't like. Everything else I was really into. So what did you guys like on it?
Yeah,
I like most of the record.
Yeah,
I like most of the record too. I thought the beginning is like, it's strong, man. SOS into Kill Bill, Seek and Destroy Low, Love Language, Blind, Used featuring Don
Tolliver.
Thank you. Snooze, Notice Me, and then I found like it kind of started lulling. It sagged just a little bit in the middle, and I think maybe that was just the result of the record being long. I don't necessarily think that the songs in that area are bad songs. I just had that moment where, like, I know you've said it about records before, where you're like, I looked down and I was like, Jesus Christ, I still have 6 more tracks. Like, yeah. I kind of had that sort of a moment with this record. Not to necessarily be contrarian to Luke, but I look at the ODB inclusion kind of as a potentially good thing. That there's a possibility that somebody who's listening to SZA who doesn't know who ODB is will like look at this record and be like, oh, who the fuck is ODB? And they'll look up ODB, and then maybe somebody be like, oh, it might spark interest into like Wu-Tang or ODB solo, or you know what I mean, or something like that.
Heavily influenced by the Wu-Tang Clan, RZA, and ODB. It's part of her background as an artist.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I know that she's from Missouri. I thought that maybe she was from like New York or Staten Island, because she does deliver one line too where she says like, those bitches are featherweight, or like that bitch is featherweight or something. I like to think that that's a harken back to a Mobb Deep lyric where your crew is featherweight. Yeah. That's kind of like a thing. That's a Mobb Deep reference. So that's why I was like, oh, well, maybe she's like a New York artist. Maybe that's kind of that, but she's from Missouri, so that's, But yeah, I love the beginning, man. I thought the first couple tracks, Kill Bill, the I might kill my ex, the last final chorus, I just killed my ex, that kind of thing. I like that song so much. I really wish there was a lot more of that. Seek and Destroy was good. Low was good. you got a couple of those intros that are like Drakey intros where it's like, like the key stuff and stuff. But, I understand it's a song. It's kind of like a song dump style album. And I get that. But I think that the songwriting is solid. I don't think she necessarily needs to do that. I think that she could divvy things up and it would still be like effective. You know what I mean? Like, it's good music. You don't have to just.
Well, I think she asked to. Because, famously, her first album was done for almost 2 years, but she, kept not giving her material to the label until they, forcibly, legally took possession of her hard drives to put the album out. Because she was, tinkering with it. Tinker. I can change this. I can fix this. Yeah. And they're like, we put out singles a while. We got to get this album out. Yeah. And it's Top Dog Entertainment, who is the former label of Kendrick Lamar, based in Los Angeles, Compton. And so I think this album, they put out that first single 2 years ago. This album was probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this album was done 6 months ago.
Yeah.
8 months ago, 9 months,
Right.
So it's really long. There are some songs that kind of are just kind of meandering, or what, I don't know, is not really the word, but they're just kind of don't go anywhere, and they're kind of just feeling songs where it kind of just stays in one mood for 2.5 minutes. And those are fine because at the very worst, she has that very sultry, hypnotic type of Rihanna type of thing where it's subtly process, not too subtly, but process vocals that have that very droopy, syrupy type of sound. I like Kill Bill mostly the best out of the tracks because I think it has the strongest melody. It's the most interesting song. I did like the song F to F because even though it sounds like something that would have been on radio 20 years ago, I think that's a good thing. I would love to see that be released as a radio single because I think it's more interesting than what you hear as radio singles now. Radio singles now are basically 1.5 minute TikTok snippets that can be chopped up for videos. I like the song Special, which is just a simple song. I like her when she's more plaintive and more journalistic and more downbeat, but I do like when she gets some energy into things. And unfortunately, her highest energy is this. Nothing ever gets past I'm just rocking it all. She doesn't have anything there's nothing fast or hard hitting on this album, but that's her style of music. It's all it's that hip hop infused R&B music. I wish she did a little bit more rapping on this album. She kind of only does it on Smoking My X Pack.
In the intro song, she does a little bit SOS,
right, SOS,
but it's only on those you're saying the little minute and a half vibers because SOS and Smoking on My X Pack are both less than 2 minutes long. So
so I just think it would have been a little, especially because of the length, the length of the album and the duration between album releases. When Frank Ocean released Blonde, he did more rapping stuff. A little bit more changes on all of his stuff to kind of show people where he's gone in the past 5 years since he put something out. So I would have loved to hear a little bit more range, but I think this album's very solid. It's long, like most hip hop albums we listen to are long, but I don't think there's skippable stuff on this album. It's just the 4-ish songs that I just go they're for that 2 minutes that they're on.
Yeah.
And they're fine because I like her voice. Her voice is in the upper end of R&B voices that I enjoy listening to. It's up there with Rihanna and Jasmine Sullivan and Amber Mark and Beyonce and, where it's that sultry, almost meditative. You can kind of get just lost on the sound of her voice. You don't even pay attention to the words really.
Yeah.
I think it's a great album cover. It's very memeable, a la Drake's Views album where he's on the top of the Toronto Tower.
Yeah.
This is just a great cover with her on a long diving board sitting out over the ocean.
Reference to Princess Diana, the photo that was taken a week before she died. That's what that photo is a reference to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting,
Yeah,
the isolation theme, because
Yeah.
this record is the sad girl, hard girl,
Yeah.
doing that thing.
Yeah, because people have been dying for this to be released.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Control, but I'm not a diehard fan, so I wasn't on the same thing of anticipating this, but I'm glad it finally got released.
I'd just like to say though too that they're like, my reference points, but the Drakey style things that were kind of peppered throughout this album, I thought that she did it better. You know what I mean?
I
thought
Hate
that
You, the third to last track on that,
Yeah.
where she was just like, if you're wondering if I hate you, I do. And it was like so like that was like such like a Drake style.
I think that was an
vocal.
old single too. That was a single from like last year.
Yes, that one got leaked like a long time ago and then got put out as a single. But I thought that song made me like chuckle on like the home stretch of that album where that one came on. I was like, oh, this is cool. The melody of that song was great, and the if you're wondering if I hate you, and the second one is fuck you, which is really funny. The way she sings it so beautifully.
Yeah.
It's really good and like harkens back to the like CeeLo Green,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but done way more like classily and not so like, funny. I like that a lot.
I also think I read too, maybe some music news to tie into this. I think it went to number 1.
Oh yeah.
It went to
This
officially went to number 1.
400,000 copies in the first week or something.
Yeah.
big
units or however they measure things now.
Yes, I would also like to note that like every single off this album has multiple million streams. Kill Bill 71 million, Nobody Gets Me 41 million.
The streams.
Shirt,
Did you check the streams out on Spotify for like each song? It's
Shirt has 109
ridiculous.
million streams.
Yeah.
So very
Ridiculous.
big album right now. I also want to shout out Blind, a song I loved on this record. The raunchy like Bob Saget lyric, so good.
That's an early track, right?
No, it's earlier. It's right after Love Language. I think it's like 6 in.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted to shout out Love Language for talking about like relationships in that kind of positive.
Yeah,
what's
I
your
love that
love
song.
language thing? That was really, really well done. I loved that. So there was a lot of stuff I really, really liked on this album, and the production was really good. It was just those small little notes that kind of made me falter a little bit with it. But it's a really, really great album and a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah. Also, it's nice to see too, like when you're looking at the credits of like who. I mean, it's pretty much all her. There's very little.
I also want to know, with Michael liking that ODB sampled song, Michael now likes
Oh no!
Michael
No.
now likes some Bjork music because Bjork is sampled.
I only liked it for the ODB. I only liked it for the ODB.
So we have Michael really enjoying
Oh.
a Bjork sampled track here
You gotta
on
get
the
down
new
with it, man.
SZA album. So I'd like to just bring that
It
full
ain't Ted
circle here.
Nugent, but it's good.
Yeah.
What are the thoughts on the overall features? There's only 5, I believe, on the whole album.
Yeah. Was it Phoebe Bridgers?
Jacob Collier, Don Tolliver.
Travis Scott.
Is it?
Yeah.
Lizzo did some co-writing.
I liked the which one did I like the best? I liked the feature with Travis Scott the best on Open Arms.
I like the song where he's not listed as a feature more.
He's listed on another song.
He
or
does
he's on another
background
song?
vocals on like the 4th or 5th track, and it's like it is background, but you can tell it's Travis Scott. I think it's more interesting than the song he does the full feature on.
Oh.
And I believe the song
that.
after that, like I think it might be the song in between like track 4 or 5 and between the Don Tolliver feature. SZA does vocal processing to bring her voice down an octave that makes it sound like it is like Travis Scott or somebody, but it is just her singing, but it's like processed to be in the male's range.
Oh.
No, I
Yeah.
did not pick up on that. But
Yeah.
I thought the other features, I mean, that was the one I liked the
Phoebe
best.
Bridgers.
Phoebe Bridgers was cool, but
Alex is shedding a solitary tear.
you a Phoebe Bridgers fan?
Oh, she's excellent.
Do you like a Better Oblivion Community? Isn't she in that band with Conor
Yeah,
Oberst?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
We don't talk
That's
about
your
that
deal?
guy here.
Oh, my God.
I'm repping old school. What do you want to talk
Close the
about?
shades, put on your black hoodie, and listen to Phoebe Bridgers.
Sad girl.
Sad. All right. Well, what do we think though? If we're going round table, if we're gonna do the old get in the garage
Oh.
rating.
Before ratings,
Yes.
for anybody just wondering out there, because we talk about content of albums, people are thinking, the internet's like, oh my gosh, is she singing about this person, this person? This is all music that she said that she wrote about relationships from 5-6 years ago. And she is right about like me and Mike's age. She's like 33-ish. So like anybody thinking like the internet rumors about what's on this album, like these are songs written about 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, why the internet's a buzz?
Yeah, people. It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the song about? That was the
Yeah.
Taylor Swift
Oh my
album.
gosh, who's she shitting on this song?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
But yeah, on to our ratings.
On to the ratings. I'll go first if you like.
Please.
I don't know. I'm gonna stick with my rating because I do still think it's a bit long for my taste, which is odd for me to say because I'm like a prog rock guy. So, but I did feel like it was a bit long, but I think it's a solid like 7.8. I'll go there. I think it's a solid 7.8. I think that she's a great songwriter, man. I think, I look forward to whatever musical project she has coming out next. There's a lot of really like high shining moments on this record, and I think that whatever happens next, if she maybe sort of kind of like, boils things down and reduces and reduces and reduces. And
She will not.
No.
She won't. This is no Santa
Her
Gold.
next album is coming out in 7 years, probably.
Yeah.
This is no Santa Gold. We're like Santa Gold gives you like an 8 or 9 track album that's like, this is all I'm doing, and then you're still gonna wait like 7 years. It's
Yeah. So 7.8 for me. That's where I'm going.
Jeffrey, what do you got?
Pitchfork, baby. Pitchfork style.
It's an 8 or an 8.5. I'm leaning more towards an 8.5. I think it's very strong. I like her voice a lot. I like the songwriting. Actually, no, I'm saying it's an 8. And with more listens, maybe it'll earn the 8.5. But yeah, it's very solid. It's a lot of, in a good way. I like the fact that it's a lot of songs because like there's a lot of great songs, and then there's some good ones, and then there's some okay ones.
Yeah.
And so like I enjoy the fact that there's like 11 great songs.
Yeah. Luke?
I give this record a 7. I really did like a lot of stuff on here, but for the reasons I said, that, kind of brings it down a little bit, the stuff going on there. Like Jeff said too, like where it gets a little meandery in the middle. So that's why I'm going 7. If you do like this kind of music and you want to live in this world, this is this album though, because it's long and it's immersive and you could really get yourself in here. I just think it's more not my cup of tea. So that's more of my rating at a 7. But if you're into this thing, it's well done music in that style and craft. So
Yeah. Right on. Well, there you have it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are our ratings right on, or are our ratings bullshit? Let us know in the comments below. Let's take a quick break.
we'll be right back with musical left turns.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Hofner Guitars. I have here the Hofner Shorty. It is a full-scale, travel-size guitar. You can find this and all of their products at hofnerguitars.com. All right, everyone, welcome back to Get in the Garage.
We're a podcast about music.
Oh, good God.
Loving it.
For people who love music.
For music for people that are music people.
Yes. Well, we're back, and we're going to do a fun segment, I think. This
Yes.
should be a good time.
Define fun.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Luke, tell us how much fun we're going to have.
We are having fun.
We are going to take you on a journey of some of the strangest musical left turns. We are going to highlight some of the weirdest and probably more on the bad side. And then Jeffrey is going to enlighten us with some of the better left turns that have happened in music. We are also going to throw in a fun segment in there called Gone Country, where we are going to tell you every musical artist who has, quote unquote, gone country. Look at them boots.
And this is in honor of the approaching new year. So new year, new you.
Yes.
This is the idea behind this whole pain of my ears for the past week.
Well, Luke, usher us in because you had one suggestion that I listened to and was like, what the fuck is
I
going
listened to
on?
this 15 years ago or 25 years ago when it came out.
So, oh no, this came out January 10th, 1983. Neil Young was signed to Reprise Records. His contract was up. He signed with new upstart Geffen Records. David Geffen, formerly of Asylum Records, branched out, started his own record label, got a bunch of huge stars, and most of those stars released some of the worst records of their career. and most unprofitable. Neil Young decided to experiment on his first release and release a vocoded album called Trans, where he experimented with computer music in the way that nobody had before him. None of his contemporaries had even touched this stuff with a 10-foot pole, and he dived deep in with keyboards, vocoders, synthesizers, all in a plea to kind of relate to his son, who was suffering with
My son, the robot.
yeah. Well, no, his son had autism and
Cerebral
couldn't-
palsy.
Yes, cerebral palsy. That's what it was. Sorry, and
man.
couldn't really focus on music and seemed to like electronics more. So Neil tried to do some musical experiments. This was the album. I don't know if it's a classic album, but it sure is a left turn. What did you guys think?
Loved it.
Loved it?
Yeah, I hate Neil Young, so anything other than what he normally does, I love.
I am into this record, but not into this record. Like, I listened to it and I was like, what in the hell? I'd never listened to this Neil Young record, like, not even close. I think my dad actually had purchased this on CD at the time. And I think it's on the wall behind me here, but it's so ahead of its time in a lot of weird ways. Like, there was that kind of like new wave keyboard music, but this is like Daft Punk, like so before that would even come close to happening. And it's not the best version of like Daft Punk, but it's the first version of it. Would you say, Jeff? Like, is this
It's an early, I mean, it's after,
I mean, like Planet Rock is
yeah.
right.
I don't know, man. It's like if Herbie Hancock made a classic rock album. It's so weird, but it is so of that time. It's like the very end of disco. It's kind of the end of that new wave era, because this was what, 83 you said?
Yeah.
No, 80 straight in the bum.
Oh, this is 80.
Oh, no.
no, 83. I
83.
did say 83.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this is like, I mean, by 83, Prince had put out like 5 albums using a lot of electronic, drum machines and stuff like that, a lot of synthesizers. So this is just very strange because like Neil Young was very famously like the get off my lawn, cranky Canadian douche, and then he's like, I'm making music for the hip kids with the nylon jackets. It's like, get the fuck out of here. like Neil Young showing up with a harmonica around his neck, but like hammer pants. Like,
Yeah.
It's just very strange.
How many zippers does that jacket
Yeah,
have,
it's
Neil?
just very strange.
Yeah, it was an odd one for me. It was funny because we were listening to another Neil Young album that we'll talk about after we talk about this one, and you'll understand why you'll understand why it's just such a difference. But yeah, it was just like I was listening to it with my wife, and I was like, "You'll never guess who this is," and she's like, "Come on, who is this?" And we would I'm like, "Yeah, it's Neil Young." She's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" Like, she couldn't believe that it was Neil Young. It was very strange. It's got the Daft Punky kind of thing going a little bit.
We are
it's
in
got
control.
Yeah, he's like,
Let
me break
Yeah.
We are in
But I
control.
didn't-
let me
mean,
break dance for you.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either.
Which is kind of interesting because
Oh, I
I'm
like
like,
it a lot.
I think this is pretty rad. Like, I'm kind of getting down with this.
Shout out to artistic freedom. I would say this is like I don't give a shit what you think album. So shout out to doing whatever the hell you really want to do artistically, Neil Young, because this is it. Kudos. Like, that's what my my 2 thumbs up is for.
Yeah.
Artistic. Like, I don't care what you think, because clearly he didn't.
And yeah, and safe to say too that the whole thing, the David Geffen thing, I read it was like he was being paid.
Let's continue here, because we got to talk about the second record before we talk about what happened with
Okay,
David Geffen.
yes,
I can't believe we're
okay.
talking about 2 Neil Young records.
So right after that
We're not
record
talking about 3.
comes out, we obviously get weird, savage reviews. People are not into this Neil Young record. Everyone's like, what's going on? And Neil Young doubles down, but not in the way you would think he would double down. He went, oh, you want a rock and roll record? That dude went in the shed and just fired up some of the like raunchiest, weirdest rockabilly tunes ever recorded, And at that, it was in about August 1st, 1983. So this came out like congruently with Trans and like right after a reaction, if you will, or a direct counterpiece to what Trans was. And this is his rockabilly record. Everybody's rocking. He's in a pink and white suit on the front cover. And Betty Lou's got a brand new pair of shoes. What did you think about the album opener, dude?
I like this record. I was into it. I'm kind of like it felt it's I think anytime you listen to like an album like this or a rockabilly album like this, you want to like roll up somewhere in an old Corvette and have somebody bring you out like chocolate malt milkshakes on roller skates. It gives you that kind of a vibe. But that's why it was so strange, because I listened to them back to back too, and I was like, what?
These came out in the same year by one artist.
On one end of it, it's just like the dude, he's got like the Pit Vipers on, and it's like Miami Vice or something. And then on the next one, I'm just kind of like, I'm on the set of Happy Days. I don't understand what the fuck is going on. I'm so confused. But I enjoyed both of them. I did.
I'd like to also point out the album opener, Betty Lou's got a new pair of shoes, is also just Little Richard's Keep On A Knockin'. You keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
Yeah.
You keep on knocking. Which I thought was very, very funny. Because it's like the most like stonered version of that song you could ever have.
Jeff?
Not a fan. I'd also like to shout out.
It's just like, who gives a
Jelly
Sometimes
Roll
you make
Man?
an album, people go, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck?
This is a weird album. It's not good on like the classic Neil Young record, but it is cool it's a rockabilly record. But so these were released back to back. David Geffen had paid a lot of money to have Neil on his record label and decided that Neil was sabotaging him and took him to court and sued him for making music that was un-Neil Young-like, and Neil Young got pissed. And David Geffen ended up dropping the lawsuit and apologizing, but really what it only did was kind of cause Neil to double down on his being eccentric and really not caring what any critic really thought. I think after that point, like Neil had already been I don't care. After that had happened, he really flew caution to the wind, and you would get his Metal Machine music in the 90s when he released Weld, like an hour of just crazy horse distortion music. So, which Jeff likes.
I guess the thumbs up.
This is this was the birthplace, I think, of Neil just getting real goddamn weird, and I'm here for it for those reasons. I am not always there for all the musical ideas that come out of that, but that was the Neil Young left turn.
This second album reminds me of there's an SNL skit from a couple years ago where it's Will Ferrell doing like 50s piano rock and roll music, and it's very bad. It's very like sexually over the line and inappropriate. And then they're like, it was a different time. It's the early 80s. It's like, who makes throwback rockabilly 50s music in the 80s? Neil Young.
Yeah.
Awful.
So another left turn that's really fun that I didn't know about until I became a member of the Roberge family.
Yeah, we're going to bring you to a great year. I believe this year was 1999, if I am not mistaken. It was. We're going back
September
to
28th?
Yep, 1999. Garth Brooks
It
decided
wasn't Garth Brooks.
that he was going to change who he was as an artist and become the rock star Chris Gaines. The album Garth Brooks in the Life of Chris Gaines. This was an album that was released, and it was supposed to be the soundtrack to a movie where Garth Brooks was going to play the character Chris Gaines, a rock star who had a full career and different albums from different time periods.
I believe an Australian rock star.
That I am not sure of, but let's go with
Keith
that.
Urban.
I believe so. I think that was
Keith Urban is the inspiration for Chris Gaines.
No, this is
the movie is called The Lamb, by the way. Just
Yes.
to throw
which
that
never
out there.
got made.
No, it never
So he
got
took
made.
this huge artistic risk with his entire career for some project that never even developed.
Right, and so that is
So funny.
all we have of this movie is the soundtrack, which was supposed to, I think, sell the movie, and it did not. It did the opposite for Garth Brooks. This is one of the most giant musical leaps in history because he changed who he was. Like, he would skinny his face when he talked, like this, and like,
Soul patch.
and he wore a
Soul
soul patch
patch.
and a wig.
Natalie
and,
with like the bangs.
Natalie Imbruglia haircut.
Dude.
and there was
That's
a
a good
whole,
look.
there was a behind the music made for this rock star that did not exist.
Yeah.
Chris Gaines.
Did he perform on SNL
He
as his
definitely
character?
did
Yeah.
perform on SNL. I think he hosted and then alter ego performed.
Oh, the old bait and switch.
If I am not
It's like
He
fucking
got
Superman.
he got double paid because it's two different guys.
on
You make fun of him, but he's a smart businessman. That one.
I
It's like
know.
Superman, where he puts the glasses on. They're less like, who is this
Who the
person?
fuck is this nerd?
that is exactly what happened. He hosted and performed, so he did a switcheroo, probably the only in history
I wonder
of.
if they knew. They had to have known.
Of course they did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's not like watch me change.
I know, but
They
what I'm
knew who
saying
he
is
was.
like, did he try to actually like legit like be like, no, I'm who's Garth Brooks?
good.
No,
Chris
he got
Gaines, you know.
introduced by another
What's the
person.
single off this album? It is actually a
So
good song.
the biggest single off this album, which I think isn't listed on the Wikipedia page, but the single is called "Lost in You,"
Yes,
which
yeah,
is
it's
an
right here,
R&B styled track.
yeah.
So it's not really like a rock song, but
It's like boy band R&B.
exactly. This song, "Lost in You," is actually, I think, a really great song. He sings it really well. Childish Gambino does a cover of it, which is definitely worth checking out, which I think gives light to the song and some validity to the project in itself. I do. This album is absolutely bonkers and crazy, but has a couple of moments where you're like, that worked incredibly well. My mother bought the CD, so that's why I am so familiar with the CD. We listened to it a lot when I was a kid. Like, my mom really actually liked the CD a lot.
It's crazy too because the book that came with the CD, if you looked in the book, it had like
It's treated like a greatest hits. I know
Yeah.
a whole biography.
yeah, like
I
the
know.
whole thing, a full biography, pictures of the albums that never existed,
Yeah.
stuff like album covers and stuff. It is, I mean, talk about full commitment to the vision.
The two biggest songs on this record that I think are worth their salt that I actually think you should check out are Lost in You. That's the Way I Remember It is a great, the album opener is a great tune. And it Doesn't Matter to the Sun, which I believe is, oh, nope, that's written by the songwriting team on here. It Doesn't Matter to the Sun is also a great tune on this record. It's like a folksy guitar song and would work in his actual career now.
Yeah.
I don't know why he doesn't carry some of these songs over. Where it gets really weird. Snow in July. Baby, how could it snow in July? It's like a Bon Jovi-y song. It's strange. That's one that doesn't really work.
What's the one that's got the
Come On People Now.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, Right Now is the name of that song.
yeah? Because it's like maybe it's the this, maybe it's the that.
So it takes the Young Bloods Right Now, like Come On People Now, Smile on Your Brother.
Yeah.
It takes the chorus to that song and mixes it with like a 1990s Billy Joel We Didn't Start the Fire verse. So it's like, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's the parents, maybe it's the plants, maybe it's
It's like his black or white, like Michael Jackson.
exactly
Yeah.
what this is. And then the chorus breaks and it's like, come on, people now. It is
You're like,
one of
what
the
And the thunder rolls.
yeah, you're like, what the fuck is going on right now?
so bizarre. That is literally the most bizarre song on the
Yeah.
entire record.
It's like dark and brooding. It's like boom, chicka, 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 boom, chicka, 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 boom.
It's
It's
so
like,
bad.
maybe it's the kids, maybe it's the schools, maybe it's the this. You're like, what is happening?
So that is like probably the worst song in this record. Snow in July is also pretty bad. There's a lot of things on here that are kind of so. We mentioned before the mics were on that Don Was was the producer of this record. Don Was, if you don't know, is the producer of the Rolling Stones 1990s albums, along with like later day Brian Wilson stuff. Pretty
Bob
much.
Dylan,
Yep.
Tom Petty,
John Mayer?
John Mayer,
Yes.
B-52s.
Yep. So
Yeah.
he did this record, and it has a lot of that, kind of like okay-ish, like middle of the road stuff. I think this record would have been better if Garth Brooks went all in the R&B flavor in that style, because I really love that song on this record. But what a strange time. I kind of wish it worked out, and I think in the whole, like, broad things, like, I think this was bad for music in a lot of ways, and not in the way you think I'm going to finish this sentence. I think us not letting Garth Brooks do this was a detriment to country music and a lot of other things, because we were like, no, play country. And because of that, we got another 20 years of unchanging country music until probably about like the last 5 or 7 maybe years. It started to creep in with Old Town Road and things of that nature, where country music was starting to Florida Georgia line, even like where they were starting to like rap in there. See what I'm saying? So I think that by putting this music out and really not giving it its full shot, because it wasn't the most horrible thing on earth, it was just weird. So
yeah, I hear what you're saying though, because it could have. If it was more well received and more accepted and stuff, it could have
rounded out country music in a more well-rounded
themes.
Way than it, you know, because
it
took till now to like get country music like more rounded, or like around the bend of like 2008 to 10, where it started to change and get more pop-oriented, more like we could have a rapper.
Well, you got to think about that time too. So like 1999 is like the peak of like, oh man, you sold out type of mentality. Like this was the peak of like angry young white guy music on one hand, and then like bubblegum pop bullshit in the other hand. I think it was Garth Brooks' Fatigue too. This was his 9th album in a decade.
Overkill.
And like this was still successful. I think this sold at least 2 million copies. It has his only top 40 hit, the song Lost in You, because his other songs didn't chart on the normal Hot 100. They charted on the country charts. But yeah, I just think like 1999, people did not want to accept this kind of left turn. And he's like late 30s, like 37, 38, 39 years old when he put this out, which is like, especially in 1999's terms, people are like, get the fuck off the stage, old man. Like it's just way too late in a career to make this kind of drastic shift. And the fact that instead of it being like, I'm Garth Brooks, I'm going to put out some different music because I enjoy all kinds of music, it's like, I'm going to put on a fucking costume and a wig and call myself something else. So like, of course nobody's going to take it seriously. Like it's fucking ridiculous. It's
the
crazy.
Most complicated version of just like, hey, I'm going to do something else now.
Yeah. Like, is there another analog to this? Has any other artist?
Oh, there's got to be. Yes. I would say.
Who's released music under a different persona?
Dexter Poindexter, the singer for the New York Dolls.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sure. Who had Hot. Who was like a novelty song guy.
He wasn't able to carry it at all.
And he was purposely like, I'm a Cubano playboy. Like clearly doing a character like to be taken like as a joke.
Right. But
like, has anybody done a serious like...
I don't think so. Like anybody tried
I can't think of
about face in like a really serious way.
Who's like, call me this from now on. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, it's so weird.
Like he's the only one maybe. And he is... So 1999, he is the Billboard's artist of the 90s, meaning for total sales, he sold more in that decade than any artist in the world. And they close out that decade with like, let me just do this. Like, of course, people are gonna hate it.
And career ender. He never. I mean, he can sell out stadiums. I'm not saying he doesn't have a fan base
based on the catalog and stuff, right?
The creative output done. We were done after this album came out. He never came back and gave you another like Thunder Rolls or Friends in Low Places or Two Pina Colada. Like none of that stuff ever came again after this record. It was done.
He wasn't even like the huge figure in country music after this, because the country audience completely was like, man, you turned your back on us. And yeah, so fucking strange, man.
So
I want to find some interview clips with him speaking with like an Australian accent.
The behind the music is really great. Also, I'd like to note of this record too, this is one of the most scrubbed albums on the internet.
Oh, you can't find it.
It is hard to find on YouTube. It does not exist on Spotify. Good luck finding it. I have an original copy that my mom had, and we found one at the thrift store. So I think there's 2 copies floating around in our world.
He is Garth Brooks himself only streams on what service? Is it Apple Music?
I don't think he streams on any service. I believe there's
streams on one.
I believe on Amazon you are able to stream his greatest hits only. So it's like a 12-track list. I think when I used to have Amazon Music, that was the only thing you could stream by him. I don't believe he's on Spotify.
I'm thinking it might be Apple Music. Well, I don't have Apple Music.
I believe he's an exclusive Walmart retail seller as
well. For physical, yes.
For every physical release, you can only buy at Walmart. There's like a 7 LP box set at Walmart.
Oh, every time we walk past it, too, Luke's just like...
though a 7 LP box set would cost, like, no shit, like $300 to $500.
This is like $60.
It is like $60 because, I mean, I'm not trying to be this guy, but, like, Garth Brooks cares about his fans a little bit more, I feel, than everybody else. And he's like, no, that's this.
Too much money, right.
That's this price. And he's a big enough artist to do that. And if you're a big enough artist to do that, I think you should probably
go get those George Pants and 7-disc box
set for
Don't forget the Shaq sneakers.
Bucks.
Oh, don't forget the Shaq sneakers.
I like he's dunking, right? And his...
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's dunking. Of course, man.
Shaq's
but like
man.
his feet are out like this.
Side note, for the same reason, because Shaq was like, oh, yeah. Jordans cost $200. I'll make sneakers for kids who are broke, like I was broke.
Yeah.
And
so, shout out.
Good on him.
Shaq.
I respect Garth Brooks for that reason too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do too.
Here.
Selling to the common man.
Shout out.
I don't respect Chris Gaines though.
Fuck that guy.
So
Fuck you, mate.
Fuck you, mate.
Do you want to give us some good musical left
let's
turns
get some good
before
left
we
turns.
go
Yeah,
country?
a little palate cleanser. So some good musical left turns. I was just thinking, like, in our lifetimes, coming out of the '90s, one of the biggest bands in the world was Radiohead with their Britpop kind of like proggy OK Computer, and then they follow that up with this very synthesizer kind of like cosmiche, like European influenced Kid A in 2000, which on its release people were like, what the fuck is this? But pretty much immediately like universally acclaimed. Another one that was a big left turn was Kanye West's Yeezus, which he released in 2013 after his big comeback, like great My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Then his follow-up album Yeezus is this very industrial, angry, like kind of brittle and jarring type of album. But it kind of divided people, but it is one of his seminal works. And it's kind of like, it doesn't seem crazy now when you listen to it, but at the time, like I hated that when it first came out. It took me a couple listens to fully digest and see what he was doing, but a very strange left turn musically. And then another I was thinking about, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. He had put out a couple rap albums that were very much like nerd culture reference rap music. And he sings a little bit on all of that stuff too, but he's like rapping and he's like lots of clever wordplay and like it's decent, his first 2 albums. And then he put out this album Awaken My Love in 2016, which is like full 70s style soul funk music with a couple big hits. Redbone is a big hit off of that. Me and Your Mama is a big hit off that. And he, as far as I know, has not returned to strictly rapping since then. He like is now this very R&B guy, very soul guy, very like throwback to the Isaac Hayes style of music. So that was a pretty big left turn because when that came out, people expected like, oh, another backpack rap album, and it's very much not that.
Yeah. Yeah, that Yeezus record, man, that was that was like really. I mean, I had heard some of the Kanye West. I mean, you know, we speak about Kanye West knowing everything that's going on, but that was kind of my introduction to him as sort of reapproaching Kanye West as being like, oh, maybe I could be a fan, and I did enjoy it. But then looking back, you know, you're right. It's so different. It's like so.
Yeah, I saw a post of mine from that day because I used to go out and get the album the day it came out. That was one of the last physical CDs I bought in 2013. And I think I gave it like a 6 because I was like, I don't know, man. I just don't like half of this. It's too like aggressive and too like disorienting and jarring and weird. But like within like 5 or 6 listens, I was like, this actually might be like his best thing.
Yeah, I Am a God on that on that
Right.
album. It's just like, whoa.
And it's just like
Yeah.
trancy,
Drill-
like
it's
drill
drilly,
stuff,
yeah.
and then it's like chopped up screams as part of the samples.
What was the other one? Black
Black Skinhead.
Skinhead,
and
thank you, that
one. New Slaves. And
yeah, Black Skinhead had like the Native American sort
Right.
of sample chanting in it too. It was like, what in the fuck is going on? Yeah,
and the
that
whole
was-
thing is just like distort. There's almost no drums on the album. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of like just pitched synthesizer hits.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Would you guys also say Jesus is King is also a huge left turn album? Because I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh man, again, a bit more in the controversial range, but I was
Sure.
like, when that came out, that was so divisive for fans. They were like, whoa,
I didn't like it.
So-
I wasn't really a big fan.
Well, I didn't like it either, but yeah,
big left turn.
And
Considering
that's-
a year before he did I Love It, which was a huge trending track for
Yeah.
like TikTok and like in like the reels and like the shorts and stuff, because that was a little pump that was talking about like disrespecting women and things, and then he did Jesus is King
King.
the following year.
and he has
Oh.
not returned to cursing on record since then. So for the past
Oh, yeah?
for the past 3 years, it just like space edits all of his curses. So it's just like silence blips all through his songs. But you're right, big Jesus is King.
I thought that was
just
the-
a full gospel album
Because like
Yeah.
it was, he would kind of like do the turn, and you're like, that was the biggest like wham album turn, and then everybody was like, wow or whoa, and then Jesus is King, everyone was just like, go 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 go. It just faltered like crazy after that, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, everybody went back and went, no, Jesus was really 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 great, like that kind of thing. I was also thinking while you were speaking, another just kind of more of a transformation, more than a left turn, but definitely a new me kind of thing. Willie Nelson, man. Like, Willie Nelson was a clean-shaven guy in the 50s that wrote
Oh, sure.
Crazy and songs like that, and then became Shotgun Willie by 1976. He had a big beard, a bandana, and pigtails, and
wanted posters,
wanted
album
posters,
covers.
and
Doing
he
the
was
outlaw
the
thing.
outlaw marijuana smoking guy instead of the guy that wrote songs for Patsy Cline, which is quite the new me left
Yeah.
turn, which, you know, music's kind of still the same, but
Yeah.
interesting. On that note, I would like to round out this new me with a collection of artists who have gone country.
Gone country.
Look at them boots. So let's start it off. Do you guys have any you want to throw it at me before we start? Can you think of any off the top of your heads?
No, but I'll comment on ones that you throw out.
Okay, here we go. We're gonna start with
Yep.
your man Aaron Lewis of Stained.
Oh, that's right.
He
It's
totally
been a while
It
since
has
he
been
wrote
a
a good
while.
song.
he totally more went on the
He's on the outside of the music industry.
definitely looking in. I would say he's more on the MAGA country side. I think if
Sure.
we had to say
God's country.
what it was, I'm gonna throw out one here that I like. Nelly. Remember when Nelly went country?
Country grammar.
No, guys, do you not remember the Tim McGraw hit Over and Over that he was on? I think about it over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Oh, that's right.
So Nelly
about
was one
that.
of the first hip hop artists to really go country. In 2016, Nelly was also on a Florida Georgia Line song, and
Right.
that was a big hit. That's called "Die a Happy Man." So Nelly dipped his toe kind of first and is still going. And there are rumors that he's going to make a country album. Here's one Michael loves. Bret Michaels went country.
The cowboy of love himself.
You know,
Your Torrens here.
he, you know, traded in those blonde locks for a cowboy hat in the 90s and hasn't looked back. It's worked well for him. We're going to go next with
Keeps the wig on.
Cyndi Lauper.
Went country.
She did a whole country album in 2016 called Detour. Which,
2016.
Yep, so it's a later day, which is a switch up, but interesting. I thought Lionel, did you guys see Lionel Richie's country album?
No.
You're blowing my mind right now, man.
He does-
I didn't know.
He does All Night Long. It's called Tuskegee. So he does Lionel Richie's hits in a country tinge. They're bad. None of it's great. According to me, take my opinion. I did not like this album. I was like, there's no way this is good. I didn't think so. But check out the country version of All Night Long. to die for. It's with Jimmy Buffett. It's a duet with Jimmy Buffett. I was
now
trying
we're
to think of who
talking.
the featured artist was.
Now we're talking.
It's one of those country albums, much like the Cyndi Lauper one I just talked about, where they get like country artists to come on and be on their tracks.
God.
So Lionel Richie, he's giving us some of it in our headphones right now. We're gonna bring you with Darius Rucker, someone who it's worked well for. I like it.
Is he Hootie?
You know,
he's the blowfish.
He's the blowfish.
Darius Rucker, man.
he's the blowfish.
Huge country person.
What I'm gonna bring
Yeah,
up.
big now too. Yeah.
Ready for the stank faces from across the room? Jerry Lee Lewis.
Bro.
After he could not make any more rock and roll records, he switched to country in the mid '60s and had a great career from there on. Not like great, but he like was able to make money, is what I'm saying. Kid Rock. Country, used to be the rapper in the 90s. We got Bob Dylan, who went Nashville Skyline, 1967. John Wesley Harding. Bon Jovi made a country record, which I have also heard and am not a big fan
cowboy.
of.
Steel
Steven,
horsey ruts.
that one
Wanted
makes
just
sense
dead. Not
a little
alive
bit.
anymore.
Yeah, I want him dead.
What did you guys think of Steven Tyler's country album?
Oh, I was waiting for you to drop the Steven Tyler.
I think Steven Tyler's country album is Delusions of Grandeur, and that's the nicest thing I am going to say about that.
Well, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Oh, well, that's what I was alluding to, but here we go. Jessica Simpson went country. She did a album called Do You Know, a slick-sounding country album, and I'm going to wrap you out with Jewel. Jewel made a country
she was
record,
always-
but she was always kind of
always
country.
kinda country.
She
Yeah,
yodeled
singer, songwriter.
in concert always, so I feel like once you are
Yeah.
yodeling,
Alaskan Appalachian.
yeah, you really can't like
The better
go
side of country,
more
in my
country. So
opinion.
that was my fun list. I liked Aaron Lewis. I think the best out of the list of people who have gone country. It's a weird turn from there,
Yeah, Aaron Lewis.
But that music was,
but he grew with his fans.
and it was kind of take away the distorted guitars that they are country songs.
Yes, I would agree.
Stained stuff.
So very interesting list of gone country. New Year, New Me, Left Turns.
I have a country record to recommend.
Oh please,
It's called Moog Goes Country. It's a compilation from the early 70s. It's all country classics done with Moog synthesizers.
Well, there you go.
It's amazing.
that was my favorite when the Moog went country.
Oh,
it's really
God.
good.
I'm
So
switched on Bachman myself.
As a skeleton, a robot skeleton wearing a cowboy hat as the cover.
I wanted to throw one more at you. In the early 90s, the Beach Boys were one of the first groups to go country. It is a horrible album. It's called America Stars and Bars, Volume 1, and they never released Volume 2.
Stars and Bars, that's the Confederate flag.
I believe that is what the album is called. It's called something like that. And they did were the first people to do that. They had all the country artists on that album.
Yeah.
It is really, really bad. It was made in the early 90s. So that was the other one I wanted to throw out, the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys. Well,
I'd like to throw them out too.
well, there you have it, everybody. Left Turns, new year, new you. We hope you have a nice, happy, prosperous new year, guys. By the time this comes out, I think it'll be the week of New Year's. So,
2023.
2023, new year, new me. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Have
What
a great-
inspiring words for a new year.
Inspiring words.
I'd like to wish everybody a good week at school in the new year.
In the new year, yes.
Just 1 week.
Hey, guys, we'll see you next year. This has been Cat in the Garage. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening.